you've ever wondered what a marketing plan looks like for $1 million practice, I got you. In this podcast, I'm gonna reveal to you the exact system and strategy that we use at my practice, Strive to Move, that makes $1 million a year in revenue, and it is a cash-based practice, so stay tuned. So the number one problem that chiropractors have when they do their marketing plan is they start with the actual strategy. But we know that any good marketing plan, any good business plan starts with the math. And if we can't make it work on paper, it's definitely not going to work in real life. And so what I want to walk you through actually is quite a bit of math exercise. And if this scares you, it should. People don't think that marketing involves the math, it doesn't involve the planning, but they just think if I put up another ad, if I run another Facebook ad, what's the headline going to be? Do I DM people? Do I do a workshop? Those are all great, but those are strategies once you understand the math and the target on the wall. And by the end of this podcast, I think what you're going to see is the level of clarity required to get to the next level, in our case, to get to 7 figures. And so for the ease of numbers, $1 million practice would be $83,333 per month. But for the ease of numbers here, and I'll show you in a second, let's just assume it's $84,500 because the math works out nice. And so this number, $84,500, is essentially the target on the wall. So if I'm sitting down with a practice that said, Justin, I want to get to $1 million in revenue, I'm gonna say, okay, we have to start with, this is what we need to make per month. If you do $84,500, not only will you make $1 million, but you'll actually do more than $1 million. And at the highest level, if we can average this amount of revenue, we're gonna hit $1 million. Starts pretty easy, yes? From there, what I have to know next is my lifetime value. And we shorten that with LTV. Let me take a minute to explain what lifetime value is, because again, you cannot know where your marketing is going to go unless you know how much a customer is worth to you. So LTV, or lifetime value, is essentially me saying every time a new patient decides to commit to a plan of care in your practice or in my practice, Strive to Move, what is that customer worth? Now, anytime this happens, people always say, yeah, but I have some people that stay forever, and sometimes people come in for 1 session and 20 sessions and 5 sessions. We have to find an average. Again, remember, we are trying to figure out a plan and strategy to take action. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it just has to tell us what the next step is. And so for the sake of this conversation, I know on average at my practice, Strive to Move, a new customer, when they walk in the door, raise their hand, I want to do a plan of care, and they swipe their credit card, the number is $6,500, so 6500, and that would be the lifetime value. And so if you are at home right now, understanding, trying to figure out how you are going to get to your $1 million practice, what you have to do is go back and look, what is the average a customer is worth to you? Is it $1,000? Is it $2,000? Is it $3,000? And we might have a plan and strategy to figure out how to raise that, but that would be a different podcast. In this conversation, if you said, I want to get to $1 million and have a marketing strategy, we have to know what the lifetime value of your customer is. So what we do in my practice, we sell plans of care. We know that we have 15, 18, and 30 sessions on average. 80% of the customers do our 18 session package, and that averages out to $6,500, which that's where we get that number. So now we have 2 really important pieces of data. I know that every new customer in my business is worth $6,500, and I know that I have to get this amount of $6,500 people to get to $84,500. You see where the math comes in. So if you take out your calculator and do the math, you would reveal that essentially my practice needs 13 patients per month at $6,500 to make $84,500. And so the rest of my conversation now doesn't talk about how to get to $1 million, how to make $1 million, $6,500. All we have to talk about is, team, how do we get to 13 new plans of care or new patients per month? Now, in my actual practice, and again, I'm doing this because I want you to see exactly what we do at Strive to Move, we have 2 sides of our business. The first side is brand new patients, brand new plans of care, and the other side is second packages or second plans of care. Essentially, that is people that are already on our schedule that book a second plan of care. Now, I'm showing you this because this is literally the exact business plan and strategy that we use. Here's what our practice does. So my practice, Strive to Move, every single month we look for 10 new, and we look for 3 second. And so what that means is every single month we are trying to find 10 new people to become patients in our practice, and we are also trying to get 3 people that are already on our schedule, that are already in plans of care, to book second plans of care. Now, for the purposes of this podcast, what we're going to focus on, we're only going to focus on the 10 new. 3 second plans of care at $6,500, that is a good chunk of money, but again, there is a whole system and strategy to get that. But for the purposes of this podcast and for all of you in the marketing plan, what I want to speak about is how to get 10 brand new patients per month. So the context of everything we're gonna do is about how to get 10. And so if you're thinking about leadership, how does this go? When I sit down with my team, I say, listen guys, we know that if we wanna be $1 million practice, all we have to do is figure out how to get 10 people per month to say yes to a plan of care. That's it. That's all we need to focus on. Okay, so if you're following along, we started with 84,500, then we knew we had to get to 13 plans of care per month. Then we broke it down to say we need 10 new and 3 second. And so now I'm on a new sheet of paper, and this is the exact way that I would do marketing planning. I would say, team, we got to get 10 new. Now, how are we going to do that? We just need 10 new patients. Now, I'm gonna pause here and I want to take a step back. I think a lot of times in business, especially early on, it feels so complicated and so complex. But what I've realized over time is the better that I get at business, or the better the people around me are at business, the simpler they can make it. Because the simpler the actions required are, the simpler the plan is, the more likely we are to achieve it. If it feels complicated, it is. If it feels like it's too much to do, it is. What we want is less amount of things and stuff with better action taken. So do less, better. Okay, so the next part, now we've broken down to know we need the target on the wall is 10 new patients per month. Now the next thing is where are we gonna get them? So I call this, what are the mediums? What are the mediums in which we are going to attract new patients? Now there's 1,000 ways you can get new patients. It could be Google and Facebook and Instagram and Meta and Yelp and referral and workshop. And there's 10 million ways that you can get new patients. Again, for the purposes of this podcast, I'm going to speak about what I believe strive to move my practice, the 3 to 4 biggest levers that we turn, which you'll see very clearly get us to the answer that we want. So the biggest lever that we can turn in our business first is understanding the difference between the platforms and understanding where we're going to spend our time. And we break that down into 2 categories. So we first look, we know to get to 10, and with that we have the digital way we can get there, and then we have the non-digital way we can get there. So as an example, if we're looking at digital leads, digital would be Google Ads, it would be Google My Business, it would be pay-per-click, it would be Meta, it would be Instagram, it would be Facebook, it would be Yelp, it would be anything you could do digitally that's going to attract new customers. And then non-digital is tried and true. It could be the Yellow Pages, it is workshops, it could be referrals. All of those things is how we look at this, because there is a breakdown and an understanding of each different side of the business of what we're gonna get at each category. So let's talk digital. At my practice, Strive to Move, we basically have 2 really big levers. And again, for the purposes of this, the one big lever is Google, and the second big lever is going to be Instagram. With digital marketing, we know that Google, we have pay-per-click, we have Google Ads, we have LSAs, local services ads. There's a bunch of things through Google that we use, and then we have a pretty well-developed Instagram strategy. We spend $30, $40, $50, $60, $70 per day to get Instagram leads, whether that is clicking through a form or getting into the DMs, which I'll talk about later. But those are our 2 major ones here. And then with non-digital, for the purposes of this podcast, the biggest one that we know it's tried and true is going to be a workshop. And so now, we started with 84,500, then we said we need 13, then we say out of those 13, 10 are gonna be brand new, and now out of those 10 brand new, we know that the platforms are going to be digital and non-digital, and then we have 2, Google and Instagram, and then non-digital, we have workshops. And now essentially I look at this and I'm just titrating it down, and I say, all right guys, now we need to get 10, and these are the 3 specific ways we're going to do it. My job as a leader in the company now is I don't really do it, but I just want to help the team get clear on what they need to do. Again, if we have clear, specific action, the only way that we can get to $1 million is that we take massive action on the right things. And this is our strategy to do that. Now, the reason why I break down digital versus non-digital is because digital leads typically don't convert at as high of a rate as something like a workshop. And I think the philosophy or the idea of this is really good to understand. So let's just say we know that on average, 50% of patients that leads or prospects that raise their hand become patients in our practice. Well, that's not actually accurate because it does change if it's a digital lead versus non-digital. And the reason is because typically we say digital leads, someone that clicks on an ad, someone that's on our Instagram, they are not nearly as qualified, they are not nearly as warm, there's not nearly as much trust built as someone on a non-digital side like a workshop. So if you go and speak in front of 10 people at a local CrossFit gym, the likelihood and the conversion rate of those workshop leads is significantly higher. And so that's the behind the scenes of why we break down each one as we do. And even within that, which I'm about to go into in a second, within platforms, we know from the data that even Google versus Instagram convert at a different rate. So that's the next thing I want to show you. Understand that I've been doing this for 11 years. And I have 11 years worth of data that I've collected to help you understand. And so when I give you these numbers and percentages, part of you is like, I don't have these numbers and percentages. This feels overwhelming to me. Understand that use my data. I'm literally giving it to you for free. Use it as a guideline for you, because remember, all of the numbers that I'm calculating here, it's simply to help you go and take action. And the thing that we talk about in our company is all I want to do is I want to be directionally correct. I want to have a good idea of what I think the action needs to be to get the outcome. It is never ever going to be perfect, but again, we do this on the purpose to get to the end to know what massive action needs to be taken. So now let me go into the conversion rates of a platform, because we're starting to get to the answers that we need. All right, so remember we talked about getting 10 new patients per month, and we have 3 different platforms that we're getting them from. So we're going to go back to that. Remember, this is what the target on the wall is, 10 new patients per month. Now, from doing a ton of workshops, we know that, and we'll quantify a prospect from a workshop as someone that actually shows up and attends the workshop. We know that if we can get people into a workshop, they are going to convert to become a patient in our office 30% of the time. So for ease of numbers, let's just say we set up 1 workshop per month and we have 10 people attend that workshop. If 30% convert, that means we will get 3 new patients per month from doing workshops. Very simple math. We base that off of a conversion rate of 30%. And so now we start to say, if we can get 10 people to show up at a workshop, by the end of that at 30% conversion rate, we are going to get 3 new patients per month. And so we started with saying, we're going to run a workshop. We know we need 10 new patients per month. Well, we just did a workshop and we just got 3 of those new patients. So now we only need 7 more. And so that would be very simply, we would start to look at our business and say, all right, let's go do a workshop. Let's make sure we can get 10 people to show up. If we deliver the workshop in a reasonable fashion, we should expect 3 new patients from that. That would be strategy 1. Now, the next strategy that I want to talk about is Instagram. And so strategy 2 to get new patients is going to be Instagram. Workshops, remember, those are the warmest leads that we get. We show up, they have a problem, we know we can solve it, 30% will convert. When we look at Instagram, when we get a prospect from Instagram, either we talk to them in the DMs or we have them fill out a form or they like and follow our stuff. We know that on average, when we can get their information from Instagram and they raise their hand, the conversion rate is not 30%, it's only 20%. And so if we know that the conversion rate is going to be 20% from Instagram, what we say is if we can get 20 prospects per month from Instagram, that is going to get us 4 new patients per month. Because again, 20% conversion rate on 20 prospects is going to give us 4 new patients. And so now we've just said that Instagram is going to give us 4 new patients so long as we can hit this goal of 20. So now, if we just take a moment here, we started with 10. We're saying, guys, we got to find 10 new patients. If we run 1 workshop, we are going to get 3 new patients. If we run Instagram in the way that we know how at this conversion rate, we're going to get 4 new patients. Now, very basic math, stay with me here. We know we started, the goal was 10. We have now gotten 3 plus 4, and that's 7. 10 minus 7, don't use your calculator, is 3. And so now all of a sudden we start building this plan and we start to say, all right, guys, we're doing a workshop, that's good. We're doing Instagram, that's good, but we've got to get to 10 and we still have to find 3, which is why we have another strategy. We have Google. Now, I did this in the order of which they are least likely to convert to be patients, because workshop is the warmest lead we have. Instagram is a better version of digital, but the hardest one is going to be Google. And so I saved the hardest for last, because we know if we're doing really well, that Google leads or prospects, someone that raises their hand, only converts at 10%. And so let's go back, and we're doing math now, baby. We have done all of the math to determine we've got to find 3 more patients from Google. So if we're running Google ads and you're a media buyer or you're running Google ads for your own company, we know that if we can get 30 leads per month from Google at a 10% conversion rate, that's going to get us 3 new patients. And so if we go back up to here, we got 3 from a workshop, we got 4 from Instagram, and now we're going to get 3 from with Google, and all of a sudden we have reached our 10 new patient total. Whew. Okay, so 84,500. We know we need 13 people at $6,500 per month. I know that it's going to be 10 new patients and 3 second plans of care. So all we're gonna focus on in this podcast is the 10. And then with those 10, we know we have 3 major strategies. We have a workshop, we have Instagram and Google. We've then taken that and looked at the percentage of conversion rate, and then we've just backed into the math. And after all of that, the complicated math, I know it's a lot, I hope you're sticking with me. All I know is I can sit there and tell my team, I can go there and say, team, if we wanna make $1 million, all we need to do this month is figure out how to get 3 people to attend a workshop, 4 people off of Instagram, and we've got to get 3 people from Google. Let's go execute. And so we're talking about getting to $1 million, 84,500 a month in this example. We've gotten to 3 examples of a workshop, Instagram and Google, and now you're probably asking, what do I need to focus on to get there? Well, this is exactly what I would tell my team. We know, we call it butts and seats, so we take workshops first. There's no way that I can convert 30% of 0. 30% of 0 is 0, which means that when my team talks about workshops, what's step 1? Let's break it down very easy. Well, the first step is to actually set it up. We have to set up a workshop in a gym. We have to get a date on the calendar. So guys, we know that we need to get a workshop this month. Step 1 is to go find a gym, either make the relationship, or if you have a relationship, you gotta go and make the ask, okay? That's step 1. Step 2, we have to start to market it, because the goal, we call it butts and seats. If we have set up the workshop and no one shows up, we're not going to have any conversion rate. And so the next step 2 of setting up the workshop is actually marketing the workshop. And how do we market the workshop? Again, whatever it takes. We have strategies where we have email lists and we do social collabs and we go to the gym and show up and we ask the coaches to talk about it. Again, there's a lot of strategies to do it, but again, the number 1 goal, now that we know we have to get 10 people, the goal is 10. So whatever it takes to get those butts and seats. And then the final step here is actually to deliver good content, quality content of your workshop, so that out of those 10, you actually get the required amount of discovery visits, evaluations, and then plans of care. So when we talk about workshops, it's like, okay, we got the workshop set up, we get the people to show up, we get the butts and seats, we deliver the workshop, we convert, now it works as we need it to. With Instagram can become more challenging. Within my mastermind program, we have a marketing checklist, and at a minimum, if you're not posting every day on your Instagram, then you're not nearly doing enough. But you have organic ways that you can post on Instagram, you have paid opportunities on Instagram, you have a DM strategy where when you have followers on your Instagram that you engage in conversations with them, with the idea that between engaging with them in DMs, doing paid and organic, that your ability to get what we call, in our situation, I believe 20 leads per month, that's gonna get us the amount of people we need to go and execute on that. Now, on the third level with Google is a little bit more sophisticated. You're definitely going to either need someone to do it for you, or you're going to have to learn how to do Google, because all we know is that 30%, 20%, 10% of 0 is 0. So if you're not running Google Ads, you aren't an expert in running that, we have to learn how to do it, because we have to figure out how to get the leads. With Google specifically, we know that you should have a very strong Google My Business page. We know that you should be doing pay-per-click. We know that you should be doing local service ads, and we know you should be doing performance max ads. And these 4 strategies on Google are the exact way that my practice uses, again, to get to that $1 million mark. So now we've broken this down into your 3 strategies, and the only thing and the only way that you fail is by not executing. I've just done the math for you. Now it is so freaking simple. And I wanna make sure that I make this point really clear. This information, I just gave it to you for free. This is not the hard part. I did all the math for you to help you get to $1 million. The hardest part of all of this is going to be the execution. If you can go and set up a workshop, but you don't know how to execute on the workshop properly, you can do all of the work here, you can work really hard, but you're not going to get the results that you want. And honestly, 30% conversion I think is low. One of the things we're working on in my practice is to get that up, where we can do less events, but they can be more successful. Because if you think about it, if we're going into a workshop setting and delivering the right message, I think the conversion rate should be over close to 50%. Number 2, with Instagram, if you are utilizing a DM strategy, you probably heard me talk about this before, and you are not getting the amount of people to become prospects and give you their information, one of the reasons why, especially if you're a solo practice out there, is most likely you don't have enough time spent in the DMs. Well, you say, but Justin, how am I gonna spend time doing that? I have to do all these other things like treat patients. Well, this is work called growing and scaling your company. We have we have a team of 2 interns plus 2 doctors plus an admin plus a salesperson that run this $1 million entity. We have more resources than your practice does. So if you're getting stuck and you're making $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month and you're like, I'd love to do all of this, but I can't, the reason is you don't have the time, the reason is you don't have the people, and now we run into a different set of problems. And then third, with Google, you're gonna have to be an expert. There are sharks playing in this water. And if you don't have expert status and you haven't paid to learn or paid a company to do it, you will never generate the required amount of leads. The final thing that I'll say about a $1 million marketing strategy is my belief is that it has to be both digital and non-digital. There are people out there that are promoting on social media right now that are digital marketers that tell you can get to $1 million by only doing digital marketing. I just don't believe that to be true. It is very expensive, and as we talked about, the leads don't convert nearly as well. And if you are going to invest in this and don't have a very well built out CRM platform where you have nurture and follow up with cold leads, you're definitely going to lose money doing it. Now with workshops, there is a skill required to it because you can get 10 butts in seats, but here's the deal, and take this the right way. If I delivered a workshop in front of 10 people and you did, I bet the results would be different. There is a skill level required to get the business to this point. But to sum up, to get to $1 million, I believe it is both a digital and a non-digital strategy. And the reason why you're not doing it is not because you don't know what to do. It's most likely you don't know how to do it. You don't have the resources to do it, and you probably don't have the skill set to do that. All right. I know I just threw a lot at you. Let me do a recap and walk you through in a minute and a half exactly what needs to happen. If you want to get to $1 million, the first thing is to figure out how much is that per month. We know it's $83,000, but let's not shoot low, let's shoot high. So we said $84,500. Then we need to figure out lifetime value of a customer in my practice. That means every time a customer comes in, it's $6,500. That means I need 13 people per month to pay me $6,500, which is going to make me $84,500. In my practice, that means we're gonna get 10 new patients and 3 second plans of care. For the purposes of this podcast, because we're just talking external marketing, we're just focused on the 10. That's step 1. Step 2, out of our 10 new patients, we know that we have both a digital and a non-digital strategy, and then breaking those out into categories, we have Google and we have Instagram for digital, and we have a workshop strategy for non-digital. So now we know to get to 10, we have these 3 strategies. After that, we have our target on the wall of 10, and we have those 3. Let's break those down. If we do 1 workshop a month, we know that those prospects or leads convert at 30%. So if we can get 10 butts in seats at a workshop, converting at 30%, that's gonna be 3 new patients. If we use Instagram, they convert at 20%. So if we can get 20 Instagram prospects or leads converting at 20%, that'll get us 4 new patients. And then with Google, we know that they convert at 10%. So if we can get 30 leads or prospects per month at 10% conversion, that gets us 3, which magically gets us to our number of 10 brand new patients per week. How do you actually do that? Well, with workshops, number 1, you gotta set one up, which is a lot of times you just have to ask. You need to get those butts to show up, and you need to execute a workshop that people are actually interested in the next step. With Instagram, you can use organic, you can use paid, you can use a DM strategy, and then with Google, you can do your organic, Google My Business, pay-per-click, local service ads, performance max ads, and if you do all of that, execute it at the highest level, you are going to make $1 million a year. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed this podcast. This is the behind the scenes. Everything that I just walked you through on this podcast is exactly how I run my practice Strive to Move, which again does $1 million of revenue and is all cash, and I do not treat any of the patients, nor do I do any of the marketing. I help them plan exactly how as I just helped you plan. The difference between my practice Strive to Move and your practice today is not the plan, it is on the execution of the plan and the skill sets required to execute the plan. So you now have the plan, and if you can't do it, we need to do something about that. There is a way you can get to $1 million, but you've got to learn the skills, you've got to learn to execute. So I hope you enjoyed this, and if you do, please subscribe to us on YouTube, please follow us on Instagram, do all of the things and share this with your friends, because I know other people will find it valuable.